like that, like what made me kind of successful at Nike was I never worked within my job title. Like,
Only real content is gonna last. All that other nonsense is here today and gone
But
tomorrow.
I wanted to ask kind of from like a logistic standpoint from somebody that might be listening and wants to be in a position like you, working at a top brand like Nike or Adidas or whatever in a creative role.
mhm.
Like what gave you that license to create within Nike? Like what steps do you think got you into that position or that role?
I would say like I always thought of things like holistically. I know that sounds kind of like what are you talking about? Like when I thought of and that makes sense to like if I say, do you think holistically? You're like, yeah, end to end from start to finish, the whole world of my idea. Like that's just how you think, and that's the right way to think. But sometimes when you come into like a big corporate culture where there's 70,000 employees, things get siloed and broken up, and it's hard for people to think beyond their piece of the puzzle. And for me, I just always thought of like, you know, the idea in it all encompassing, right? I never like kind of just stayed in like the one piece of it that I was working on. I always thought of it as, you know, what's the experience of the idea? What's the look, the color, the vibe, the retail, the app, the campaign. Like I just because that's how I'd always thought about ideas. I never thought about them like I'm just designing a campaign or I'm just designing a piece of apparel. I thought about it like, yeah, man, of course there's a retail execution of this. Of course there's a
Exactly.
production video.
Right. It's hard to explain unless you do it.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
Like, but also it can be learned just in the context of like working with a bigger company and then realizing, oh, this idea does have all of these different applications.
Yep.
And like you can then see the width and the depth of even just one product.
Yeah, and I would say just like that, like what made me kind of successful at Nike was I never worked within my job title. Like if I was, like if I was in brand, I was thinking about product. If I was in product, I was thinking about brand. And like I tried to do that in a way that didn't make people feel like I was encroaching on their space. But, I think when people can see the full vision, it just gives people more confidence. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean like I'm trying to, if I'm on the brand side, I'm trying to design the shoe or the apparel item or vice versa. But it just means I'm like helping maybe articulate the idea at a higher level where all the pieces can come together. And that's not always asked for, but I always tried to do that just because that's how I saw it. So it was easy for me to do that. But, there were lots of people who, just did their one task and they were the world's greatest, whatever. But for me, that kind of made me stand out a little bit was I always kind of did a little more work, a little more. I just lived outside of the ask, when somebody asked for X, I gave them X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? And maybe it all didn't get used, and maybe they were just like, that's cool, but no thank you. But I was like, at least I'm gonna show you. Like, at least I'm gonna stretch this idea. And that ended up helping me a lot as I kind of tried to make a name for myself or just stand out, I guess.